presented by Soundlibra.com. Explore more titles via the link in the description or at Soundlibra.com. Welcome to the Anger Toolkit. Transform anger into powerful energy.
And I'm Lisa. We're so excited to start this journey with you. Just a quick heads up before we get started. While we're exploring emotional strategies today, please remember this is a medical advice, so be sure to consult with a professional for your specific health needs.
Exactly. It's all about adding tools to your personal kit. Today, in our very first episode, we're diving straight into the heart of the matter, understanding anger itself. What is it really? And more importantly, how can we harness its immense power instead of being controlled by it?
That's right, Alex. So many of us have been taught that anger is bad. We're told to suppress it, to hold it in, or to push it away. But what if that's actually making things worse?
Precisely. The common approach to anger often involves avoidance or suppression. We might try to ignore angry feelings, hoping they'll just disappear. Or we might try to get over it as quickly as possible. But this often leads to repressed emotions, which can manifest in unhealthy ways, like anxiety, physical ailments, or even passive-aggressive behavior.
So, instead of truly addressing the anger, we're just pushing it down. And it sounds like that doesn't really work in the long run.
Exactly. Think of anger like a signal. It's a part of your emotional spectrum, just like joy, sadness, or fear. When you feel a strong emotion, it's usually telling you something important. Anger often signals that a boundary has been crossed, a need isn't being met, or an injustice has occurred. It's a powerful signal, and if we ignore it, we miss vital information about ourselves and our environment.
That makes sense. So, rather than seeing anger as an enemy, we should consider it a messenger?
That's a perfect way to put it, Lisa. A messenger with important news. And this toolkit is designed to help you not only hear that message, but to understand it and use it constructively. We're not here to tell you to never feel angry. That would be like telling someone to never feel hungry. It's a basic human experience.
So, our goal isn't to eliminate anger, but to transform it.
Exactly. We want to transform that raw, often overwhelming energy into something productive. Imagine the sheer force of anger. If we can channel that force, that intensity, into something positive, think of the impact we can have. It can fuel our drive, inspire us to make necessary changes, and help us stand up for ourselves and for what we believe in.
That sounds incredibly empowering. But how do we even begin to do that? It can feel so chaotic when anger hits.
It absolutely can feel that way, and that's why we're building this toolkit step by step. We'll explore practical strategies. We'll look at identifying what triggers your anger, those specific situations or thoughts that ignite it. We'll also explore how your body reacts to anger and learn ways to physically release that tension in healthy ways.
I can see how understanding those physical sensations would be key. Sometimes I feel anger before I even fully process it.
Our physical responses are often the first alarm bells. Then, we'll delve into the mental aspect, how our thoughts and beliefs can fuel or de-escalate anger. This is where we'll learn to calm the storm raging inside. A major part of managing anger effectively is learning to pause. That moment of pause, that strategic breath, can be the difference between an erupting volcano and a controlled release.
The power of pause. I like that. And you mentioned standing up for ourselves. That sounds like communication.
It absolutely is. We'll dedicate time to assertive communication, learning to express your needs and feelings clearly and respectfully without resorting to aggression. This is about speaking your truth without violating the rights of others. We'll also look at navigating conflict, because disagreements are inevitable, and learning to handle them in a healthy way is crucial for all our relationships.
And this applies to all areas of life, right? Not just personal conflicts.
Incredibly so. We'll explore how anger plays a role in parenting, discussing how to raise emotionally intelligent children who can also manage their own anger. We'll also move into deeper self-understanding, looking at how past experiences shape our current anger responses through journaling.
Journaling. That's a great way to reflect and gain insight.
It truly is. And as we build this understanding of our anger, we'll also learn how to use it to foster healthier connections with others. Often, our anger can create barriers. By managing it constructively, we can break down those barriers and build stronger, more resilient relationships.
So, it's not just about managing anger. It's about using it as a catalyst for positive change, both within ourselves and in our interactions with the world.
Precisely. And finally, we'll focus on maintaining that momentum. Building anger resilience is an ongoing practice, not a one-time fix. We'll equip you with the tools to sustain your progress long after this series concludes. The ultimate goal of this toolkit is transformation. It's about taking something that might feel destructive and turning it into a powerful engine for personal growth and positive action.
So, to recap what we've discussed today, anger is a natural human emotion, a messenger signaling our needs and boundaries. Our aim in this series is not to suppress anger, but to transform its powerful energy into something constructive. We've outlined a journey that will cover identifying triggers, understanding physical and mental responses, practicing de-escalation, developing assertive communication, navigating conflict, applying these skills in parenting and relationships, and ultimately building long-term resilience.
That's a fantastic summary, Lisa. The key takeaway from this episode is this: anger is not inherently bad. It's a signal, and by learning to understand and manage it, we can unlock its potential to fuel positive change in our lives and in the world around us. This is the beginning of your journey to transforming anger into your most powerful energy.
We are so excited for you to join us for this transformative process.
Next episode, Unmasking Your Triggers. Welcome back. Last time we covered the basics of anger. Now let's tackle triggers.
That's right, Alex. If anger is a signal, then triggers are what set off that signal. Identifying those triggers is the absolute first, and arguably the most critical, step in managing our anger effectively. It's like knowing which buttons to avoid pushing if you want to keep a machine running smoothly, or in this case, your own emotional well-being.
Exactly, Lisa. Think of it this way. Imagine you have a really sensitive alarm system in your house. If you don't know what sets it off, maybe it's a strong gust of wind, a passing car, or even a pet brushing against a sensor. You'll be constantly dealing with false alarms, and you'll never truly feel secure. Learning your anger triggers is like learning what truly sets your personal alarm off, so you can respond appropriately rather than react blindly.
And I think what makes this so important is that these triggers can be incredibly varied. They're not always obvious, are they? Sometimes it's something big and dramatic, but often it's the small, everyday things.
You've hit the nail on the head. Triggers can be broadly categorized into two main types: external and internal. External triggers are those things happening outside of us in our environment or in our interactions with others. Internal triggers are the thoughts, feelings, and even physical sensations that arise within us. Let's start with external triggers, as they often feel more immediate and obvious.
Okay, so external triggers. What are some common examples we see in our daily lives?
Well, a very common one is criticism. When someone criticizes us, whether it's constructive or just plain hurtful, it can immediately put us on the defensive and spark anger. Another big one is feeling disregarded or ignored. Think about when you're trying to speak and someone interrupts you repeatedly, or when your opinions seem to be brushed aside. That could be incredibly enraging.
Oh, I can definitely relate to that. It feels like you're not being seen or heard.
Absolutely. Other external triggers include feeling threatened, either physically or emotionally. This might be an argument with a loved one, feeling unsafe in a particular situation, or even facing strong opposition to your ideas. Unfairness is another major trigger. When we perceive that something is unjust, that rules are being broken, or that someone is getting away with something, anger often follows.
So, situations where we feel wronged, attacked, or dismissed. That makes sense. What about things that feel smaller? Like, I sometimes get really angry when I'm stuck in traffic. Is that an external trigger?
That's a perfect example of an external trigger. Traffic jams are frustrating because they impede our progress. They're outside of our control, and they often feel unfair when we're already running late. It's a very common trigger for many people. Other examples could be loud noises, messy environments, or even specific people whose behavior consistently irritates us.
So, it's about what's happening to us or around us. But you also mentioned internal triggers. That sounds a bit more complex.
It is, but it's just as important to understand. Internal triggers are those that originate from within our own minds and bodies. For instance, negative self-talk can be a powerful internal trigger. When you criticize yourself harshly, replay mistakes, or focus on your perceived flaws, that internal narrative can easily lead to simmering anger.
So, basically, being our own worst critic is a trigger for anger?
Precisely. And building on that, feelings of guilt or shame can also be potent internal triggers. If we feel we've done something wrong, or we're ashamed of an aspect of ourselves, that can fester and manifest as anger. Then there are unmet expectations. This isn't just about others not meeting our expectations, but also when we have expectations of ourselves and we fall short.
That's interesting. I never really thought of my own expectations as a trigger.
It's a common blind spot, and this connects directly to internal physical sensations. Feeling tired, hungry, or in pain can amplify our irritability and make us more susceptible to anger. Imagine trying to deal with a frustrating situation when you're already exhausted. Your anger threshold is much lower, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. My kids always say I'm hangry when I haven't eaten.
A classic example of an internal trigger. And let's not forget stress. Chronic stress wears down our resilience, making us more likely to react with anger to minor annoyances. So, when you feel overwhelmed, anxious, or on edge, that internal state can be a trigger for a more intense anger response.
So, to recap for our listeners, we have external triggers, things happening outside us like criticism, feeling ignored, unfairness, or even traffic jams. And then we have internal triggers, things happening inside us like negative self-talk, guilt, shame, physical discomfort like hunger or tiredness, and stress.
That's a fantastic summary, Lisa. Now, the crucial part is how do we actually unmask these in real time? Because awareness is key. You can't change what you don't recognize.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because in the heat of the moment, it all just feels like anger. It doesn't come with a label saying, this is because you were criticized.
Right? So, the first strategy is something we touched on briefly, pausing. When you feel that familiar tension rising, that prickle of irritation, stop, even for just a second. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what is happening right now? This pause creates a small gap between the trigger and your reaction.
That pause is so powerful. It's like hitting the brakes just before you crash.
Exactly. And in that pause, try to identify the specific event or thought that preceded the anger. Was it something someone said? Did you have a thought about yourself? Are you feeling physically uncomfortable? Being as specific as possible helps. For external triggers, ask, who said what? What happened? For internal triggers, ask, what was I just thinking? How is my body feeling?
This sounds like it requires a lot of self-observation.
It absolutely does. And that's where journaling can be incredibly helpful, which we'll get into more deeply in a later episode. But for now, even just mentally noting down your triggers can be a starting point. Another strategy is to look for patterns. Do you notice that you get particularly angry at work when a certain colleague is around? Or that you always feel on edge right before a big deadline? These patterns are your triggers revealing themselves.
So, we're essentially becoming detectives of our own emotions.
Precisely. And when you identify a trigger, especially an external one, try to reframe the situation objectively. Instead of thinking, he's deliberately trying to annoy me, you might ask yourself, is there another explanation for his behavior? Is he perhaps stressed or having a bad day himself? This doesn't excuse bad behavior, but can help diffuse your immediate anger response by shifting your perspective.
That's a great point. It helps to remember that other people have their own internal worlds and struggles too. It's not always about us.
Exactly. And when it comes to internal triggers, particularly negative self-talk, the strategy is to challenge those thoughts. Ask yourself, is this thought accurate? Is it helpful? What would I say to a friend in this situation? Often, our internal dialogue is far harsher than any external criticism.
So it's about building a more compassionate inner voice.
You've got it. And finally, for those physical internal triggers like hunger or tiredness, the solution is often simple self-care. Eat nutritious food, get enough sleep, and take breaks when you need them. It sounds basic, but it's foundational to managing our emotional regulation.
So, to recap, the key to unmasking your triggers is awareness. This involves pausing, identifying the specific external or internal event, looking for patterns, reframing situations, challenging negative thoughts, and practicing self-care. It's not about eliminating anger, but about understanding its source so we can respond rather than react.
And that awareness is the first, most powerful step on the journey to transforming your anger. It's not always easy, but with practice, you'll start to see these patterns emerge, and you'll begin to gain a profound understanding of what makes you tick.
It feels like by understanding our triggers, we're really taking back control.
That's absolutely the goal. Next episode, we're going to explore the physical manifestations of anger. Remember when we talked about internal physical sensations as triggers? Well, next time we'll dive into how our bodies store and express anger and how we can use physical release as a powerful tool.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to the Anger Toolkit. Last time, we delved into the fascinating world of anger triggers. Now, let's talk about where all that energy goes when anger strikes.
You mean like the physical stuff? Because I know when I get angry, I can feel it. My heart races, my fists clench. It's like my whole body is vibrating with this intense energy.
Exactly. Anger isn't just in our heads. It's a full body experience. When we feel threatened or wronged, our bodies go into what's called the fight or flight response. Our sympathetic nervous system kicks in, flooding our system with adrenaline. This is a powerful survival mechanism designed to prepare us to either confront the danger or run from it.
So, all those physical sensations, the racing heart, the tense muscles, even that hot flush, are actually our bodies trying to get us ready for action?
Precisely. Your heart beats faster to pump blood to your muscles, giving you the strength to fight or flee. Your breathing becomes shallow and rapid to take in more oxygen. Your senses heighten and your focus narrows. It's a biological symphony, all orchestrated to help you survive. But here's the catch. In our modern lives, we often experience these physiological responses to stressors that aren't life-threatening in the way our ancient ancestors faced.
Right. So we get angry at a slow driver or a condescending email, and our bodies react as if a saber-toothed tiger is in the room. That's a lot of pent-up energy for a situation that doesn't require a fight or flight response.
That's a perfect way to put it, Lisa. And when that energy isn't released constructively, it can cause problems. It can lead to chronic tension, headaches, digestive issues, and even high blood pressure over time. Think of your body like a pressure cooker. If you don't let off steam, the pressure builds until something breaks.
So the goal isn't to stop feeling angry or to stop the body's natural response, but to find healthy ways to release that pent-up physical energy.
You've got it. This episode is all about exploring that express ticket for your anger, the physical release. We're going to look at several techniques that help you channel that intense energy safely and effectively. The first, and perhaps most fundamental, is something we all do, but can do more consciously: deep breathing.
Deep breathing. I've heard about that for relaxation. How does it help with anger specifically?
It directly counteracts the shallow, rapid breathing that comes with anger. When you take slow, deep breaths from your diaphragm, that's the muscle below your lungs, you signal to your nervous system that the danger has passed. It helps to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your body's rest and digest mode.
So it's like telling your body, false alarm, we can relax now?
Exactly. Let's try it. Imagine you're going to inhale slowly through your nose, filling your belly with air, like you're inflating a balloon. Hold it for a second, and then exhale slowly through your mouth, letting all the air out. Do this 4 or 5 times. Feel that? Even just a few breaths can start to make a difference. It slows your heart rate, calms your mind, and begins to release that physical tension. This is a tool you can use anywhere, anytime, in a meeting, in traffic, right before an argument.
That does feel better. It's so simple, yet effective. What's next on our physical release tour?
Next, we have progressive muscle relaxation. This technique involves intentionally tensing and then releasing different muscle groups in your body. You start with your toes, scrunch them up tightly for about 5 seconds, and then release them completely, noticing the difference between the tension and the release. Then you move up to your calves, your thighs, your abdomen, your arms, your hands, your neck, and your face.
So, by actively tensing, you become more aware of the tension you're holding, and then the release feels even more profound?
Precisely. It's a mindful way to explore and let go of the physical manifestations of anger. It helps you become more attuned to where you store tension. Many people find they hold anger in their jaw, their shoulders, or their stomach. Progressive muscle relaxation helps you consciously unwind those tight knots. Imagine yourself as a statue, tense and rigid with anger. Then, slowly, each part of you begins to soften, to melt, to release.
That's a great image. And what about more active physical release? Sometimes I just want to move, to burn off that energy.
That's where more vigorous activities come in. For some, it might be a brisk walk or a run. For others, it could be punching a pillow, hitting a tennis ball against a wall, or even dancing your heart out. The key here is to engage in physical activity that you enjoy, that allows you to expend that built-up adrenaline.
So, channeling that fight or flight energy into something productive like exercise.
Exactly. Think of it as harnessing that raw power. It's not about being aggressive, but about redirecting that surge of energy. If you're feeling overwhelmed by anger, a good workout can be incredibly cathartic. It allows your body to do what it was biologically designed to do: move.
I can see how that would work. When I go for a run after a frustrating day, I often come back feeling much calmer and clearer headed. It's like the physical exertion clears the mental fog.
And that's the beauty of it. It's a feedback loop. Releasing the physical tension can, in turn, help to calm your mental state. Remember, anger is like a wildfire. We can't always stop it from starting, but we can learn to control where it spreads and ensure it doesn't burn down our own house. These physical release techniques are like fire breaks for your body and mind.
It's about recognizing that our bodies are sending us signals and learning to respond to those signals in ways that are healthy and constructive. Deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, and active exercise are all powerful ways to manage the physical energy of anger.
Absolutely. We've explored how anger manifests physically and introduced several powerful techniques for releasing that pent-up energy. Deep diaphragmatic breathing to calm your nervous system, progressive muscle relaxation to mindfully release tension, and active exercise to channel adrenaline constructively. These are your body's express tickets, allowing that energy to move through you rather than getting stuck and causing damage.
It's about transforming that intense, potentially destructive energy into something neutral or even positive. By engaging our bodies, we can regain control and prevent anger from taking over.
Indeed. And next time, we're going to tackle the storm within, the mental and emotional aspects of anger. We'll explore how our thoughts contribute to anger and learn ways to calm that inner turmoil. Next episode, Calming the Storm Within, Cognitive Release. Welcome back to the Anger Toolkit. Last time, we explored physical release. Today, we're diving deep into the mind to calm that storm within. We're going to explore cognitive release.
Cognitive release. Powerful indeed. If episode 3 was about getting anger out of our bodies, what does getting it out of our minds involve?
Think of it this way. Our thoughts are the fuel for our anger. When something upsetting happens, our minds create a narrative, often negative. Cognitive release interrupts that narrative and changes how we think about a situation.
So it's not just what happens to us, but how we interpret it. Anger often feels like a runaway train of negative thoughts. How do we slow that train down?
The first step is becoming aware of those thoughts. We call these automatic negative thoughts, or ANTs. They pop into our heads easily. For example, if someone cuts you off in traffic, an ANT might be, "They did that on purpose to annoy me."
Oh, I know those thoughts. And they just make me angrier. So, recognizing these ANTs is the first step. What's next?
Once we spot an ANT, the next crucial step is to challenge it. We need to become detectives of our own minds. We ask, is this thought actually true? What evidence do I have that it's true? What evidence do I have that it might not be true?
So, for the traffic example, instead of accepting they cut me off on purpose, I'd ask, is it definitely true they did it on purpose? Maybe they didn't see me. Maybe they're rushing. Maybe they're just a bad driver.
Precisely. You're questioning the automatic, anger-fueling interpretation. By introducing doubt, you weaken the ANT's power. This is about thinking more realistically.
I see. It's about finding alternative explanations, or at least recognizing that our initial, angry explanation isn't the only possibility. This is also called reframing, isn't it? Seeing the situation from a different angle.
You got it, Lisa. Reframing is a key cognitive release technique. It means consciously trying to see a situation from a different perspective. Maybe the situation isn't a personal attack, but a misunderstanding. Maybe it's an opportunity to practice patience. Or maybe it's just a small annoyance that doesn't deserve our energy.
That's a helpful way to put it. We're not just reacting, we're responding with intention. It feels like it takes practice, though. My ANTs are pretty ingrained.
They absolutely are, and that's normal. Like any skill, challenging thoughts and reframing takes practice. The more you do it, the more automatic these healthier thought patterns become. It's like building a new muscle.
Okay, so we're challenging negative thoughts and reframing perspectives. What else counts as cognitive release?
Another powerful tool is practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness is about paying attention to the present moment without judgment. When we're caught in anger, we're often dwelling on the past or catastrophizing about the future. Mindfulness brings us back to now.
Right, so if I'm fuming about something that happened earlier, mindfulness would involve acknowledging that I'm feeling angry now, but not getting lost in the replay of the event.
Exactly. You notice the feeling of anger, you notice the thoughts, but you don't get swept away. You can observe them, like clouds passing in the sky. You might notice your heart pounding, your jaw clenching. But you also remind yourself, this is just a feeling. It will pass.
That sounds like it could create a little bit of space between the trigger and the reaction, a moment to choose a different path.
That space is everything, Lisa. That tiny pause is where cognitive release happens. It's the moment you realize you have a choice. You can let the anger consume you, or you can consciously choose to respond differently. Mindfulness helps us create that pause.
So, to recap cognitive release, first we identify those automatic negative thoughts, those ANTs. Then we challenge them, ask ourselves if they are truly accurate, and look for evidence. And third, we reframe the situation, trying to see it from different, less anger-provoking perspectives. And underpinning all of this is practicing mindfulness to create that crucial pause between trigger and reaction.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. Identifying, challenging, reframing, and mindfulness. These are your cognitive tools for calming the storm within. It's about retraining your brain. Instead of automatically going to anger, you develop the ability to pause and think differently.
It feels like this approach directly tackles the root of the anger. While physical release is important for immediate tension, changing our thought patterns seems like the key to long-term anger management.
Absolutely. Physical release can be like putting out immediate flames, but cognitive release is like changing the fuel source. It prevents the fire from starting, or at least makes it smaller. Remember, our thoughts have immense power. By harnessing that power consciously, we can significantly reduce the impact of anger on our lives.
And it's empowering to know we have these internal strategies. It's not about suppressing anger, but about understanding and directing it.
Exactly. Anger is a valid emotion, but it's how we process and respond to it that matters. By working on our cognitive patterns, we're becoming more skillful and strategic in how we navigate challenging feelings. So, these are powerful techniques to practice daily. Start small, perhaps with one challenging thought a day, and gradually build from there. Next episode, The Power of Pause, the Art of De-escalation. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to the Anger Toolkit. Last time, we explored physical and cognitive release techniques to manage angry feelings. Today, we're discussing something incredibly powerful, yet often overlooked, the art of the pause.
The pause. It sounds so simple, doesn't it? Just stop for a second. But Alex, in the heat of the moment, when you feel that anger rising, that second can feel like an eternity and often an impossible one to achieve.
That's absolutely right, Lisa. And that's precisely why we're dedicating this episode to it. We've talked about releasing the steam through physical or mental exercises, but what happens before that steam becomes a full-blown explosion? That's where the pause comes in. It's the crucial window of opportunity between feeling triggered and reacting.
So, it's not just about after you feel angry, but about intercepting that angry feeling before it takes over completely?
Exactly. Think of it like this. Imagine you're driving, and suddenly a deer jumps out in front of your car. Your immediate, instinctual reaction might be to slam on the brakes. That's a split-second pause, a reflex. De-escalation through pausing is about intentionally creating a similar, though more conscious, space when our emotions are triggered. It's about giving yourself just enough time to shift from a reactive state to a more thoughtful, responsive state.
I like that analogy. So, how do we cultivate this intentional pause when our bodies are already screaming at us to fight or flee?
Great question. The first step is understanding why the pause is so effective. When we get angry, our sympathetic nervous system kicks in. It floods our body with adrenaline, sharpens our focus on the perceived threat, and can lead to that feeling of tunnel vision where we can't think straight. This is our ancient fight or flight response. It's designed for immediate survival, not for navigating complex human interactions. The pause disrupts this immediate, almost automatic cascade of physiological and psychological reactions.
So, it helps us override that primal alarm system?
Precisely. By consciously pausing, we create a tiny space that allows our prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain responsible for rational thought, decision-making, and impulse control to re-engage. This is the part of the brain that gets sidelined when we're in full-blown anger mode. The pause is like a gentle nudge saying, hey, prefrontal cortex, we need you back online now.
That makes so much sense. It's like giving our thinking brain a chance to catch up with our emotional brain. So, what are some practical ways to create this pause?
There are several techniques we can use. The simplest is a literal pause, physically stopping whatever you're doing and taking a deep breath. When you feel that surge of anger, instead of speaking or acting immediately, just stop. Say to yourself, pause. This simple instruction, even if it's just in your head, can be incredibly effective.
So, if someone says something that upsets me, instead of immediately firing back, I can just stop. Take a breath.
Yes, and add a conscious, deep breath. Inhale slowly through your nose, feeling your belly expand, and exhale slowly through your mouth. This physical act of deep breathing has a calming effect on the nervous system. It signals to your body that the threat isn't immediate and that it's safe to dial down the alarm. Remember our episode on physical release? Deep breathing is a core component of that. It's fundamental here too.
I remember. It's amazing how something so simple can have such a profound biological impact. What else can we do during this pause?
Another strategy is to count. It sounds almost childish, but counting can effectively redirect your mental energy. You can count to 10 or even to 30 slowly. As you count, you're engaging your logical mind, focusing on the numbers rather than the immediate trigger. This mental distraction buys you precious time.
So, instead of focusing on the hurtful words, I focus on counting. And that creates the space.
Exactly. And while you're counting, you can also mentally repeat a calming phrase or mantra. Something like, I am in control, this will pass, or I choose my response. These internal affirmations reinforce the intention to de-escalate and regain composure. It's like building a small mental fortress of calm within the storm.
I can see how that would work. What if the situation is really intense and a simple pause feels inadequate?
For those more charged moments, we can employ a strategic retreat. This is a more active form of pausing. It involves physically removing yourself from the triggering situation, even for a short period. You can explain it by saying something like, I need a moment to collect my thoughts. I'll be back in a few minutes.
That sounds a bit like avoidance, though. Is that healthy?
It's not about avoiding the issue indefinitely, but about creating a necessary pause in real time. It's a temporary step back to regain perspective. Think of it as stepping out of a hot, crowded room to get some fresh air before you can have a productive conversation. When you return, you're more likely to approach the situation with a clearer head. You're not running away from the problem. You're stepping away to better equip yourself to handle it.
That's a helpful distinction. So, it's about a strategic, temporary disengagement. What happens when we don't pause?
When we don't pause, we tend to react from a place of heightened emotion. Our words can become sharp, our tone aggressive, and our focus narrows to winning the argument or expressing our hurt as forcefully as possible. This often leads to saying things we regret, damaging relationships, and escalating the conflict rather than resolving it. It's like acting impulsively in traffic. You might feel momentarily powerful, but the consequences can be severe.
And those regretted words can be incredibly difficult to take back. It's like a boomerang. Once it's out there, it's hard to recall.
Absolutely. The pause allows us to consider the impact of our words and actions. It gives us the opportunity to choose a response that aligns with our values and our long-term goals, rather than being dictated by immediate, intense emotion. We can ask ourselves, what do I really want to achieve here? And what is the most constructive way to communicate that?
So, the pause is not just about stopping anger, but about enabling more intentional and constructive communication.
Precisely. And remember when we talked about cognitive release in episode 4? The pause is the bridge between that and our next steps. By pausing, we create the mental space needed to engage those cognitive strategies we discussed, like reframing the situation or identifying our unhelpful thought patterns. You can't effectively reframe a situation if you're still in the thick of an emotional outburst.
That connection makes perfect sense. It's like each tool in our toolkit builds upon the others. First, we acknowledge the anger physically and mentally, and now, with a pause, we have a way to manage the onset of that anger and prepare ourselves for productive dialogue.
Exactly. So, to recap, the power of pause lies in its ability to interrupt the automatic anger response, allowing our rational brain to re-engage. We can create this pause through simple techniques like stopping, taking deep breaths, counting, repeating calming phrases, or a strategic, temporary retreat. Practicing these pauses helps us avoid saying things we regret, de-escalate conflict, and communicate more constructively.
It's about regaining agency over our reactions, rather than letting anger control us. We're shifting from reacting impulsively to responding thoughtfully.
That's a beautiful way to put it, Lisa. This intentional pause is a cornerstone of anger management and healthy conflict resolution. It's a skill that, with practice, becomes more natural and accessible, even in the most challenging situations.
So, to our listeners, start small. Try to implement just one of these pausing techniques today. Notice what happens. Does it feel different? Does it give you a bit more breathing room?
Wonderful advice. Next time, we'll build on this foundation by exploring assertive communication strategies. We'll learn how to express your needs and feelings clearly and respectfully, even when you're feeling angry. Next episode, speaking your truth, assertive communication strategies. Welcome back to the Anger Toolkit. Today, we're diving into speaking your truth through assertive communication.
That sounds so important, Alex. Sometimes, even when we feel calmer inside, we struggle with how to actually say what we need to say, especially when we're feeling angry or frustrated. It's like the words get stuck, or they come out all wrong.
Exactly, Lisa. That's where assertive communication comes in. It's about expressing your needs, feelings, and thoughts directly, honestly, and respectfully. It's a crucial skill for managing anger because when you can effectively communicate, you often prevent those feelings from building up to an explosive point in the first place.
So it's not about bottling things up, but also not about exploding either. Where does that leave us?
It leaves us with a middle ground, and that middle ground is assertive communication. Think of it as a spectrum. On one end, you have passive communication. This is where you let others infringe on your rights, where you don't express your feelings or needs. You might say yes when you want to say no, or let others make decisions for you.
Oh, I know that feeling. You end up feeling resentful, like you're being taken advantage of, right?
Precisely. On the other end of the spectrum is aggressive communication. This is where you express your rights, feelings, and needs in a way that violates the rights of others. It often involves blaming, criticizing, or attacking. You might hear people saying things like, "You always do this," or raising their voice.
And that just escalates things, doesn't it? It puts the other person on the defensive immediately.
Absolutely. Aggression tends to create defensiveness, anger, and further conflict. So, if passive is not speaking up and aggressive is speaking out hurtfully, where does that leave us?
Assertive, of course. The sweet spot.
The assertive approach. And what does that look like? It's about expressing yourself directly, honestly, and appropriately, while respecting the other person's rights. It's about clearly stating your needs and feelings without attacking or demeaning the other person. It's about finding that balance of standing up for yourself while still valuing the person you're communicating with.
Okay, that makes sense conceptually. But how do we do that? Especially when we're feeling that surge of anger.
That's where practice comes in, and we have some great strategies. The first step is to be aware of your own feelings and needs. What is it that's actually bothering you? Once you've identified that, you can start to formulate your message. We often use a structure called the I statement.
Yes, the I statement. I've heard of those. They help take the blame off the other person, right?
Exactly. An I statement typically has three parts. First, you state the behavior you observed or experienced. This should be factual and specific, avoiding any judgment. For example, instead of saying, "You're so inconsiderate," you might say, "When the dishes are left in the sink."
Okay, so you're describing what happened neutrally. What's the second part?
The second part is to state your feeling about that behavior. Use "I feel" statements. So, continuing our example, you might say, "I feel frustrated."
Right, connecting the behavior to your emotional experience. And the third part?
The third part is to state your need or what you would like to happen. This is where you offer a solution or express what you require. So, you might say, "Because I like to have a clean kitchen after dinner. Would you be willing to wash them after you're done eating?"
So, putting it all together. When the dishes are left in the sink, I feel frustrated because I like to have a clean kitchen after dinner. Would you be willing to wash them after you're done eating? That sounds so much calmer and more productive than just yelling.
Doesn't it? It's direct, it's honest, and it focuses on the issue and your experience, rather than attacking the other person's character. Let's try another one. Imagine your colleague consistently misses deadlines, impacting your work. How might you use an I statement to address that?
Okay. The behavior is missing deadlines. My feeling might be stressed or concerned, and my need is for them to meet the deadlines so I can do my part. So, maybe, when project deadlines are missed, I feel stressed because it impacts my ability to complete my tasks on time. I need us to hit these deadlines to keep the project moving forward.
That's excellent, Lisa. You've clearly identified the behavior, your feeling, and your need. Now, sometimes we need to be even more direct, and that's where a strategy called broken record can be useful.
Broken record? Like repeating yourself?
A little bit, but in a controlled way. The broken record technique is about calmly and politely repeating your request or statement of need, even if the other person is trying to divert, argue, or ignore you. You stick to your message without getting sidetracked by their responses.
So, if someone is pushing back, you just gently keep reiterating what you've stated.
Exactly. Let's say you have a boundary about working late. You've expressed that you can't stay past 7 tonight. Your manager says, "But this is an emergency. Everyone else is staying." You could use the broken record. "I understand there's an emergency, and I'm sorry to hear that. However, I cannot stay past 7 tonight." If they push again, you repeat, "I'm sure it's urgent, but I cannot stay past 7 tonight." You're not being aggressive. You're simply holding firm to your stated boundary.
That requires a good amount of self-control, doesn't it? Not to get drawn into their argument or justifications.
It absolutely does. And often, practicing these techniques in less charged situations will build your confidence for when the stakes are higher. Another powerful tool is called negative assertion.
Negative assertion? That sounds a bit negative.
It can sound that way, but it's actually a very assertive way to handle receiving criticism. Negative assertion involves acknowledging the truth in criticism without becoming defensive or apologizing unnecessarily. You simply agree with the factual part of the criticism.
So, if someone says, "You're always late with your reports, and you are sometimes late," what would you say?
You could say, "Yes, sometimes my reports are late." You're acknowledging the truth of the statement. You're not saying, "but," or "however," or making excuses. You're just admitting the fact. This often defuses the other person's need to keep pushing. They've heard you acknowledge their point. From there, you can choose to explain your plan to improve or simply leave it at that.
That's so interesting. It feels counterintuitive to just agree with criticism, but I can see how it would take the wind out of someone's sails.
It really can. It shifts the dynamic from conflict to a more reasoned discussion. So, to recap our assertive communication strategies, we have the I statement, which clearly articulates your behavior observation, your feeling, and your need. We have the broken record technique for calmly repeating your boundary or request. And we have negative assertion for acknowledging valid criticism without becoming defensive.
And all of these are designed to help us express ourselves honestly and respectfully, which is key to managing anger and building better relationships. It's about speaking our truth without causing unnecessary harm.
Precisely. Remember, assertive communication is a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice. But by incorporating these strategies, you're well on your way to transforming how you express yourself, and therefore, how you manage your anger.
So, to recap what we've covered today, we discussed the difference between passive, aggressive, and assertive communication. We learned the structure of an I statement: behavior, feeling, and need. We explored the broken record, technique for staying firm, and the negative assertion, technique for handling criticism.
Great summary, Lisa. These tools empower you to express your needs and feelings constructively. In our next episode, we'll build on this by looking at how to navigate conflict more effectively when disagreements do arise. Next episode, navigating conflict, healthy debates, and disagreements. Welcome back to the Anger Toolkit. Last time, we learned how to express ourselves clearly and respectfully. Now, let's apply that to conflict.
Conflict. It sounds stressful, but isn't conflict itself not bad? It's how we handle it that matters.
Absolutely. Conflict is natural when people have different needs or opinions. The goal isn't to avoid it, but to navigate it healthily. We want healthy debates, not destructive battles.
Healthy debates sound approachable. What's the first key?
Setting the right foundation. Understanding your triggers and communication style before conflict. Remember your triggers? Those sensitive spots that can send you into an anger spiral? Knowing them helps you recognize when you're overwhelmed.
Like knowing that if someone interrupts you, you feel disrespected and frustrated.
Exactly. And your usual response? Do you shut down, lash out, or but try to please? Awareness is the first step to choosing a better reaction. Now, in a disagreement, the crucial next step is the power of the pause.
The pause. That vital moment between stimulus and response.
Precisely. In a disagreement, our emotional brain can take over. Taking a conscious pause, even just a few seconds, allows your rational brain to catch up. It gives you space to choose your words instead of being driven by impulse.
It's like an internal reset button. What should we be thinking about during that pause?
Focus on what you want to achieve. Is your goal to win, or to understand, find a solution, or express your needs respectfully? Clarity of purpose is vital. Furthermore, actively listen. It means truly trying to understand the other person's perspective, even if you don't agree.
Active listening. That's so important in all relationships. So, after pausing and listening, how do we communicate our perspective without escalating things?
This is where our assertive communication skills come into play. We use I statements to express our feelings and needs without blaming. Instead of, "You always ignore my ideas," try, "I feel unheard when my suggestions aren't discussed. I value your input, and I want to ensure we're considering all perspectives."
That's a powerful difference. I feel unheard focuses on your experience, not an accusation.
Exactly. And it opens the door for dialogue. Another key element is setting boundaries. Disagreements often test boundaries. Healthy boundaries during conflict mean knowing what you will and will not tolerate.
What do boundaries look like in a disagreement?
They can look like saying, "I'm willing to discuss this, but I cannot continue if we resort to name calling." Or, "I need a break from this conversation right now. Can we revisit it in an hour when we're both calmer?" This isn't about shutting down the person. It's about protecting yourself and setting expectations for respectful interaction.
So, you're not trying to silence the other person, but ensuring the conversation remains productive and respectful. It's about preserving dignity.
Precisely. And this leads us to compromise. Healthy conflict resolution often involves finding common ground or a solution that works, even if it's not exactly what either person initially wanted. Compromise isn't about giving up. It's about finding a mutually acceptable path forward.
I guess compromise is where healthy debate really shines. It's not about winning, but about collective problem solving.
Right? And sometimes disagreements become particularly difficult. In those situations, recognize when you might need a neutral third party to mediate. This could be a trusted friend, family member, or a professional. When emotions are running too high, an outside perspective can be invaluable.
That's a practical tip. It's okay to ask for help when we're struggling.
Absolutely. Remember, the goal of healthy conflict navigation is not to eliminate disagreement, but to transform it. We want to move from anger-fueled arguments to constructive dialogues that strengthen our relationships and help us grow. So, to recap, know your triggers and style. Embrace the power of the pause. Practice active listening and use I statements. Set clear boundaries and open yourself to compromise and, when necessary, mediation.
It's about turning potential explosions into opportunities for understanding and connection. We're using our assertiveness and de-escalation skills to navigate disagreements productively.
Exactly, Lisa. By applying these strategies, we can transform conflict from a source of stress and anger into a catalyst for growth and stronger relationships. We're not just managing conflict, we're mastering it. Next episode, we'll explore how these tools apply to parenting, helping you raise emotionally intelligent children. Welcome back to the Anger Toolkit. Last time, we explored navigating disagreements in healthy debates. Now, let's tackle anger in parenting.
Oh, absolutely, Alex. Parenting can bring up some of the most intense emotions, and anger is a big one for many parents. It's so crucial to get this right, not just for our own well-being, but for our children's development too.
Exactly. Children observe everything we do, especially how we handle difficult emotions. If we as parents frequently explode in anger, yell, or become resentful, our children learn that this is a normal, acceptable way to deal with frustration.
So, it's not just about what we say, but what we do.
Precisely. This is why practicing our anger management skills is so incredibly important when we're parenting. It's about showing our children, through our actions, that anger is a normal human emotion, but it doesn't have to control us. When we can take a breath, use our words calmly, and find a healthy way to express our frustration, we're teaching our children a powerful lesson.
Can you give us an example of that modeling in practice?
Certainly. Imagine a parent is trying to get a child ready for school, and the child is dawdling. The parent feels frustration. Instead of shouting, "Hurry up, you slowpoke," the parent might say, "I'm feeling really frustrated right now because we're running late. I need your help to speed things up a bit." This acknowledges the emotion, expresses the need without blame, and invites cooperation. It's a completely different message and a much more effective one for teaching.
That makes so much sense. It's about being honest about your feelings without being aggressive.
Exactly. And it's also about acknowledging that parenting is tough. It's unrealistic to expect ourselves to be perfect. The key is in the recovery and the repair. If you do lose your temper, it's crucial to apologize to your child afterwards. Saying something like, "I'm sorry I yelled earlier. I was feeling very overwhelmed, but that wasn't a good way to talk to you. Can we talk about it?" This teaches children about accountability and the importance of mending relationships.
That's so important, the apology. It shows them that mistakes happen, but they can be fixed.
Absolutely. Now, beyond modeling, we need to actively teach our children about their own emotions. This starts with helping them identify what they're feeling. We can help them by labeling their emotions for them in the moment.
So, if a child is crying because a toy broke, instead of just saying, "Don't cry," we might say, "It looks like you're feeling really sad and disappointed that your toy broke."
Precisely. You're validating their experience and giving them the vocabulary to understand their inner world. This process is often called co-regulation. When a child is distressed, they're dysregulated. We, as the calmer adults, help them find their balance again. We offer comfort, we listen, and we help them process the feeling.
Co-regulation. I like that. It's like helping them find their emotional equilibrium.
That's a great way to put it. And as they get older, we can move from co-regulation to teaching them self-regulation. This means empowering them to manage their own emotions effectively. We can do this by introducing simple strategies adapted for children.
What kind of strategies would work for kids?
Think about the power of pause we discussed. For children, this might look like having a calm down corner in the house. This is a designated safe space with comforting items. When a child is angry or upset, they can choose to go there. We also teach them simple breathing exercises like smell the flower, blow out the candle. You breathe in deeply through your nose, like smelling a flower, and then exhale slowly through your mouth, like blowing out a candle.
That's such a simple, visual technique. I can see kids understanding that.
And it's effective. We can also help them develop problem-solving skills so they can address the root cause of their frustration rather than just expressing anger. If a sibling took their toy, instead of attacking the sibling, we teach them to say, "I was playing with that. Can I have it back?"
It's about equipping them with tools, not just telling them to suppress their feelings.
Exactly. And managing parental frustrations is a huge part of this. Sometimes our own stress, lack of sleep, or feeling overwhelmed can make us more prone to anger. It's vital for parents to prioritize their own self-care. This isn't selfish. It's essential for effective parenting. Taking even a few minutes to decompress can make a world of difference in how we respond to our children.
So, the advice for parents is threefold: model healthy anger, teach children about their emotions, and manage your own frustrations.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. Remember, we're not aiming for perfect parenting, but for purposeful parenting. We aim to build a foundation of emotional intelligence in our children, showing them that anger is a normal emotion that can be understood and managed constructively. By being mindful of our own responses and actively teaching our children these skills, we're setting them up for healthy relationships and greater emotional well-being throughout their lives.
It's a long-term investment, isn't it? Teaching these skills now will pay dividends for years to come.
Absolutely. To recap, we emphasize the power of parental modeling, showing children how to express anger constructively through our own actions and apologies. We discussed labeling emotions to help children build their emotional vocabulary and the concept of co-regulation, where parents help children regain emotional balance. We also touched on teaching self-regulation through strategies like calm down corners and breathing techniques, and the critical need for parents to manage their own stress through self-care. These are all vital pieces of the puzzle in raising emotionally intelligent children.
It's amazing how interconnected everything is, from managing our own anger to parenting effectively.
It truly is. And this brings us to our next episode. We've covered a lot about managing anger. Next episode, we'll delve into understanding your personal anger story through journaling for insight.
Journaling for insight. I'm looking forward to that.
And so are we. We'll see you then for episode 9 of the Anger Toolkit. Welcome back to the Anger Toolkit. Last time, we explored parenting and raising emotionally intelligent children.
That was so insightful, Alex. Helping kids navigate their anger is such a vital skill. It really highlighted how applying similar principles to our own anger can be incredibly beneficial.
Exactly, Lisa. And that brings us perfectly to today's topic, understanding your anger story, and how journaling can be an incredibly powerful tool for gaining that deep self-understanding. We're going to explore how writing about your anger can help you uncover patterns, understand your triggers, and ultimately transform that powerful energy.
Journaling. I love the idea, but sometimes I feel like I don't know where to start, especially with something as complex as anger. It can feel a bit overwhelming.
That's completely understandable. Many people feel that way. But think of journaling not as a chore, but as a conversation with yourself. It's a safe space to explore your emotions without judgment. We're not aiming for perfect prose. We're aiming for honest introspection. Remember identifying triggers in episode 2? Journaling is one of the most effective ways to pinpoint those triggers and understand why they affect you.
So, it's like gathering evidence. You're collecting all the pieces of your anger puzzle.
That's a perfect way to put it. The more pieces you have, the clearer the picture becomes. Let's start with foundational ideas. When journaling about anger, capture the specifics. What happened? Who was involved? Where were you? What time of day was it? These details can reveal surprising patterns.
Okay, so instead of just thinking, I was angry, I should be writing. At 3 p.m. today at the grocery store, a shopper cut in front of me in the checkout line, and I felt a surge of frustration and resentment.
Precisely. You're creating a narrative of your anger experience. Now, after documenting the event, explore the feelings. How did your body feel? Did your heart race? Did you clench your fists? Did your jaw tighten? These physical sensations are important clues to what your anger is telling you.
That's a great point. Sometimes I notice physical symptoms before I even recognize I'm angry. It's like my body is sending me an early warning.
Absolutely. Your body is often the first messenger. So after noting physical sensations, let's move to the thoughts. What was going through your mind? Were you thinking, this is unfair, or they always do this? Identifying those automatic thoughts is crucial because they often fuel the intensity of your anger.
So it's not just the event, but my interpretation of the event that's making me angry.
Exactly. Journaling helps you see those interpretations clearly. Now, here's where we connect to previous episodes. Remember in episode 4, Calm the Storm Within, Cognitive Release? We discussed challenging negative thought patterns to diffuse anger. Journaling is the perfect practice ground for that. After identifying your angry thoughts, ask yourself, are these thoughts truly accurate? Is there another way to look at this situation?
So I can use my journal to consciously reframe those thoughts. Instead of, they always do this, I could write, this person might be having a terrible day, and their behavior isn't necessarily about me.
You've got it. Then consider the underlying emotions. Often, anger is a secondary emotion. It's like a protective shield for more vulnerable feelings like sadness, fear, hurt, or disappointment. Journaling can help you peel back those layers. You might ask yourself, beneath the anger, what else am I feeling?
That's something I've noticed. Sometimes I'm so focused on being angry, I don't realize I'm actually feeling hurt or really scared about something.
It's a common experience, and journaling provides the quiet space to discover it. So those are the core elements of documenting an anger episode. The event, the physical sensations, the thoughts, and the underlying emotions. Now, how we make this a regular practice to build insight. Let's talk about different journaling methods.
I'd love to hear some practical approaches. I'm ready to fill some pages.
Great. One effective method is what I call the anger log. This is a structured approach. You can create a simple template. For each instance of anger, fill in the details, date, time, location, who was involved, trigger event, physical sensations, automatic thoughts, underlying emotions, your initial reaction, and then, importantly, your chosen response. This last part is key for building the habit of de-escalation, which we discussed in episode 5.
So I'm not just recording what happened, but how I chose to handle it and how I wish I had handled it.
Exactly. It's about self-correction and growth. Another method is free writing or stream of consciousness journaling. When you feel anger rising or right after it subsides, Just start writing whatever comes to mind without censoring yourself. Don't worry about grammar or structure. Just let the words flow. This would be a powerful way to uncover raw, unedited emotions.
That feels more liberating, less structured, like just letting it all out.
It is. And for those who prefer a more guided approach, there are prompt-based journals. You can find them online or create your own. Here are a few examples to get us started. Asterisk, when I feel angry, my first impulse is to asterisk, a situation where I felt a lot of anger recently was asterisk, what makes me feel unfairly treated? Asterisk, what are my go-to coping mechanisms when I'm angry? Are they healthy? Asterisk, if my anger could talk, what would it say it needs?
Those prompts are fantastic. They break down the big picture into manageable questions. That last one, if my anger could talk, that's really insightful. It personifies the emotion and gives it a voice.
It does, doesn't it? When you give your anger a voice, you can begin to understand its message. Remember how we talked about anger as a signal in episode 1? Journaling helps you decode that signal. Over time, with consistent use of your anger log or free writing, you'll start to see recurring themes. Perhaps you consistently get angry in situations where you feel unheard, unappreciated, or when your sense of fairness is violated.
And recognizing these patterns is the first step to changing them. It's like understanding the plot of your own personal story so you can rewrite the ending.
That's a beautiful analogy, Lisa. You're not just reacting to life. You're actively participating in your emotional narrative. This process of journaling also builds self-compassion. When you see yourself repeatedly struggling, you can approach yourself with kindness rather than criticism. You start to understand that change is a process, not an overnight event.
So, to recap, journaling about anger involves documenting the specifics of an event, exploring your physical sensations and automatic thoughts, and identifying any underlying emotions masked by anger.
That's right. We've discussed structured methods like the anger log and free-form approaches like stream of consciousness writing. We also shared some powerful prompts to help you get started. The key is consistency. Even just 5 to 10 minutes a day can make a significant difference in understanding your anger story.
And by understanding your story, you gain the power to change its direction. It's about moving from being a passive observer of your anger to an active author of your emotional well-being.
Exactly. This journey of understanding your anger story through journaling is a vital part of building long-term resilience. It's a tool that empowers you to transform potential destructive energy into a powerful catalyst for personal growth and healthier relationships, which we'll explore more in episode 10.
It really brings together so many of the tools we've discussed. By journaling, you're actively engaging with your triggers, your thoughts, your physical responses, and your underlying emotions.
And that's the essence of mastering your anger. In our next episode, we'll delve into connecting with others and building healthier relationships, showing how this newfound self-awareness can positively impact your interactions.
Next episode, connecting with others, building healthier relationships.
Welcome back to the Anger Toolkit. We're diving into connecting with others and building healthier relationships.
That's right, Alex. We've explored understanding triggers, using release techniques, practicing the pause, and communicating assertively. Now, we'll see how all of that translates into richer connections with our partners, family, and friends. It's about transforming anger into something positive for our relationships.
Absolutely. When we're constantly reacting with anger, it creates walls. But when we learn to manage our anger, we open the door to empathy and deeper understanding. One of the first ways this happens is through improved listening.
Improved listening? How does anger management help us listen better? I might think when I'm angry, I'm too invested in talking more, not listening less.
That's a great observation, Lisa. When we're angry, our focus narrows. We're so caught up in our own feelings and perspective that we struggle to hear what the other person is saying, or more importantly, how they're feeling. Managing anger allows us to widen that focus. It gives us the space to step back and really absorb the other person's words, their tone, and their body language. We're not just waiting for our turn to speak. We're trying to understand their experience.
So, it's about shifting from being defensive to being receptive. Instead of thinking, how can I win this argument? You start thinking, what is this person trying to tell me? This sounds like a crucial step toward empathy.
Exactly. Empathy is the cornerstone of strong relationships. When we can manage our anger, we naturally become more empathetic. We can put ourselves in someone else's shoes and understand their feelings, even if we don't agree with them. Imagine a disagreement with your partner. Instead of just feeling your own frustration, you can pause, breathe, and try to understand why they might be feeling upset. This doesn't mean you have to condone their behavior, but understanding their perspective diffuses tension.
That makes so much sense. It's like the anger management tools we've learned, the pause, the cognitive reframing, they're not just for our own benefit, but they actively help us connect with others because we're less likely to lash out and more likely to try and understand.
Precisely. And this leads directly to stronger bonds. When people feel heard, understood, and respected, even during disagreements, they feel closer to you. They trust you more. This builds a foundation of security. Think of a time when someone really listened to you without judgment. How did that make you feel? It probably made you feel valued and more connected to that person, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's incredibly validating. And conversely, when someone is always angry or dismissive, it pushes you away. So, taking responsibility for our own anger then actually strengthens our bonds by making us more reliable and considerate relationship partners.
That's a perfect way to put it. And it's not just about romantic relationships, either. This applies to our families, our friendships, even our colleagues. When we can communicate assertively and manage our anger, we can have healthier debates. We can disagree without it turning into a personal attack. You remember our episode on assertive communication,
Definitely. It was all about expressing our needs and feelings clearly and respectfully, without being aggressive or passive.
right? And when we combine that assertive communication with better anger management, we can navigate complex family dynamics, resolve conflicts with friends constructively, and build a more collaborative environment at work. It's about expressing your truth in a way that invites dialogue, not defensiveness.
So, it's not just about not being angry, but about how we use that energy. When we're not consumed by anger, we have more emotional bandwidth for connection. We can offer support, show appreciation, and be truly present for the people in our lives.
You've hit on a key point, Lisa. When we're stuck in anger, we're often self-absorbed. It's a very inward-facing emotion. But when we manage it, we can shift that focus outward. We can be more generous with our time, our attention, and our affection. This is what builds truly fulfilling connections. It's the difference between a relationship that feels draining and one that feels nourishing.
It really does transform the quality of our interactions. Instead of dreading difficult conversations, we might start to see them as opportunities to deepen our understanding and strengthen our relationships. It's about moving from a reactive mode to a proactive, connection building mode.
And this proactive approach helps prevent resentment from building up. So often, relationship problems stem from small, unaddressed issues that fester over time because we either didn't know how to express them or we expressed them in anger, which just made things worse. By managing our anger, we can address issues earlier, more constructively, and with more care.
It's like tending to a garden. If you let weeds grow unchecked, they can choke out the flowers. But if you weed regularly and with care, your garden thrives. Our relationships are like that garden.
That's a beautiful analogy, Lisa. So, to recap for our listeners, managing anger doesn't just help you feel better internally. It fundamentally transforms your relationships from the outside in. It enhances your ability to listen with empathy, strengthens bonds through trust and respect, and allows for healthier, more constructive communication. You become a better partner, a better friend, a better family member.
And all of these skills we've been building throughout the Anger Toolkit series, the self-awareness, the emotional regulation, the communication techniques, they all weave together to make us more capable of building and maintaining these healthier, more fulfilling connections. It's the ultimate payoff for all the hard work we've been doing on ourselves.
Completely agree. Building healthier relationships is one of the most rewarding outcomes of transforming anger into a powerful energy. Next episode, we'll explore how this transformed energy can become a catalyst for positive change in our lives and the world around us.
Next episode, anger as a catalyst for change.
Welcome back to the Anger Toolkit. We're exploring how anger can be a powerful catalyst for positive change.
That's right, Alex. We've spent the past 10 episodes building your anger toolkit, learning to understand, manage, and transform it. We've covered triggers, release strategies, communication, and relationships. Now we're ready for a bigger picture view.
Exactly. Anger often arises when things feel unjust or our boundaries are crossed. While uncontrolled anger is destructive, channeling that energy constructively makes it a potent force for improvement. It's about turning destructive rage into directed action.
So, instead of just suppressing it or reacting impulsively, we can learn to harness anger's energy. How do we start seeing anger as a catalyst?
First, we reframe our perception. Instead of viewing anger solely as a problem, we see it as valuable information. Anger signals unmet needs or violated principles. It's a signpost pointing to areas needing attention. Remember identifying your triggers? This is where that awareness truly pays off.
So, the initial spark of anger isn't bad, it's the message behind it that matters. If I get angry because my workspace is messy, the anger itself isn't the issue, but the fact that my need for order is unmet.
Precisely. Once you understand that message, you can choose your response. Instead of lashing out, use that energy. This is where the catalyst comes in. Anger can speed up positive change in your life or a situation.
I like that analogy. How do we translate that feeling into action when it can feel overwhelming?
The key is directing that powerful emotional energy towards something specific and actionable. Assertive communication is a perfect example. Instead of yelling, you can calmly and clearly state your needs or boundaries. This directly uses anger as a catalyst for better communication and healthier interactions.
That makes sense. If I'm angry about an unfair work policy, instead of just complaining, I could channel that energy into writing a reasoned proposal or organizing a discussion with colleagues.
Exactly. You're using anger's energy to drive a constructive process. Personally, this might mean using anger about a past experience to fuel your commitment to growth, like seeking therapy or developing new coping skills. It's transforming, why is this happening to me, into what can I do about this?
This is empowering. It shifts the focus from being a victim of emotions to being an agent of change. What about larger societal issues like injustice or inequality?
This is where anger can be a profound force for social change. Throughout history, anger at injustice has fueled movements for civil rights, equality, and environmental protection. Think of the passion driving activists. It often stems from a deep anger at perceived wrongs.
It's that righteous anger. Then, when channeled correctly, it's not about random outbursts, but about sustained commitment to improvement.
Precisely. For individuals, this can mean advocacy. It might be volunteering for a cause you care about, educating others, or engaging in peaceful protest. When you feel anger about an issue, ask yourself, how can I use this energy to contribute to a solution?
It's about finding that healthy outlet. We've focused on individual tools, but channeling anger for change is often a collective effort, isn't it?
Absolutely. Connecting with others who share your concerns amplifies impact. When you find common ground and work together, anger transforms into a unified force for progress. Remember our discussion on building healthier relationships? This extends to community building and collective action.
It's like taking individual sparks and weaving them into a powerful flame. One challenge might be not letting anger become all-consuming. How do we ensure we use it as a catalyst without getting burned?
That's critical. The tools from this series are your safety net and steering wheel. Continue practicing self-awareness to recognize unhelpful anger. The power of pause, taking that moment to breathe and assess, is essential before channeling anger into action. Ensure your actions align with your values and are constructive, not destructive.
So, even when driven by strong emotions, we still use our learned skills. It's not just feeling angry and acting, it's pausing, understanding its message, and then acting with intention and purpose.
Exactly. And it's important to celebrate small victories. When you successfully channel anger into positive change, acknowledge that accomplishment. This reinforces the behavior and builds confidence.
So, to recap this episode, anger, when understood and managed, can be a powerful force for positive change. It signals that something needs attention, and its energy can fuel our efforts to improve ourselves, our relationships, and society. By reframing anger, seeking solutions, and acting constructively, we transform this emotion into a catalyst for growth.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. This episode brings together many of our concepts, moving from managing anger to understanding its potential for positive action.
It really is. It's about harnessing that inner fire for something productive and meaningful.
Indeed. And as we continue, remember this transformation is ongoing. Next episode, we'll look at maintaining this momentum and building lasting resilience.
Next episode, maintaining your momentum, long-term anger resilience.
Welcome back to the Anger Toolkit. In this penultimate episode, we're talking about something crucial, maintaining the progress you've made. We've explored so many ways to understand and manage anger, from identifying triggers to practicing de-escalation. But how do we ensure these new skills stick day in and day out?
That's such a good question, Alex. It's like going to the gym for the first time and feeling great. The real challenge is sticking with the workout routine to see long-term results. So, how do we build that lasting resilience with our anger?
Exactly. The first step, and this is huge, is recognizing that this is an ongoing practice, not a destination. Think of it like building a habit. We've built some fantastic tools in our anger toolkit, but they need regular use to stay sharp. So, ongoing self-care is paramount.
Self-care. That word gets thrown around a lot. What does it really mean in the context of managing anger long-term? It's not just about bubble baths, is it?
No, it's much more than that, though a good bubble bath can certainly help. True self-care, in this context, means proactively tending to your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. This creates a buffer against stress, which is often a major trigger for anger. Are you getting enough sleep? Eating nourishing foods? Moving your body regularly? These aren't luxuries. They are foundational.
So, if we're running on empty physically, we're much more likely to be irritable and reactive. It's like our emotional reserve tank is already low, and any small bump in the road can make us run out of gas, so to speak.
Precisely. And beyond the physical, we need to continue with our mental and emotional self-care. This involves continuing practices that bring us calm and perspective, like mindfulness or meditation. Even 5 minutes a day can make a significant difference in cultivating that inner stillness we've talked about. Remember episode 4, Calming the Storm Within? Those techniques are not just for immediate emergencies. They're for everyday maintenance.
right? So we're not just pulling out those tools when there's a fire, but using them regularly to prevent fires from starting. And what about those moments when we slip up? Because I imagine that's going to happen.
It absolutely will happen. And that's where preventing relapse comes in. Relapse isn't failure, it's a learning opportunity. The key is to notice when you're starting to slip back into old patterns and to be kind to yourself. Instead of berating yourself, ask, what led to this? What can I learn from this?
That what can I learn part is so important. Instead of seeing it as a setback, we see how we can adjust our strategy. It's like reviewing a game plan after a tough match.
Exactly. And this ties back to our journaling practice from episode 9. Revisiting your anger story or simply keeping a log of challenging interactions can reveal patterns you might be missing. Are there certain times of day, specific people, or particular situations that consistently lead to a flare-up? Identifying these ongoing patterns allows for preemptive strategy adjustments.
So, it's about continuous observation and adaptation. Are there any specific strategies for those moments when we feel that familiar surge of anger coming on, even after all this work?
Yes, and this is where the power of pause from episode 5 becomes even more critical for long-term resilience. That pause is our crucial first line of defense. When you feel that heat rising, intentionally create space. Take a deep breath. Count to 10. This conscious delay interrupts the automatic, habitual angry response. It gives your rational brain a chance to catch up with your emotional brain.
That pause is like hitting the brakes before you go off-road. And during that pause, we can then consciously choose a different response, perhaps using those assertive communication strategies we discussed in episode 6.
You've got it. Instead of reacting impulsively, you can choose to respond calmly and clearly. This might mean expressing your needs directly, setting boundaries, or simply stating your feelings without blame. Remember, assertive communication is about respecting yourself and others, not about winning an argument.
So, to recap what we've discussed so far for long-term resilience, we have ongoing self-care, those foundational physical, mental, and emotional practices. We have proactive relapse prevention, viewing slips as learning moments and continuing to observe our patterns. And we have the crucial pause, the intentional space to choose a thoughtful response over an automatic reaction.
That's a fantastic summary, Lisa. And let's not forget the power of our support network. Episode 10 was all about connecting with others and building healthier relationships. Continuing to nurture those positive connections and communicating openly about your efforts to manage anger can provide invaluable support and accountability. Don't isolate yourself. Share your journey.
That makes so much sense. Having people you can talk to who understand and encourage you makes a massive difference. Sometimes just verbalizing what you're going through can diffuse the intensity of the anger.
Absolutely. And finally, remember that anger can be a catalyst for change, as we explored in episode 11. Maintaining momentum means continuing to channel that energy constructively. If anger is pointing out an injustice or a problem, use your refined skills to address it effectively, not destructively. Use your voice, advocate for yourself and others, and contribute to positive solutions.
So, it's about transforming that powerful energy into something productive for yourself and for the world around you. It's definitely a continuous journey, not a one-time fix.
It truly is. And this wraps up our discussion on maintaining momentum and building long-term anger resilience. We've equipped you with a robust toolkit throughout this series. Now, the real power lies in your consistent commitment to using those tools, adapting them as needed, and remembering that every day is an opportunity to practice and grow.
This has been so incredibly valuable, Alex. It's empowering to know that with ongoing effort, we can truly transform our relationship with anger.
Thanks for listening. Welcome to the Anger Toolkit. This is our final episode, number 13.
It's been an incredible journey, Alex. We've gone from understanding what anger is and where it comes from, to actively using tools to manage it and even leverage it for positive change. I'm excited to tie it all together today.
Absolutely, Lisa. Think of this episode as a grand tour of everything we've built. Remember, we started by unmasking your triggers. We learned that triggers are those personal hot buttons that ignite our anger. Identifying them is the first crucial step. It's like knowing which fuse to avoid to prevent an explosion. We talked about how everyday events, or even memories, can send us into an angry state if they connect with past hurts or unmet needs.
That really stuck with me. Realizing that what sets me off isn't always about the current situation, but often about something deeper. And once we knew our triggers, those specific cues, we learned how to respond differently.
Exactly. And that leads us directly to the concept of the body's express ticket, physical release. Anger often manifests physically, that clenched jaw, the racing heart. We explored healthy ways to let that physical energy out, like exercise, deep breathing, or even just shaking it out. It's about being aware of the physical signs and giving them an appropriate outlet, rather than letting them build up.
So, recognize the trigger, then manage the physical response. What came next after channeling the body's energy?
That was calming the storm within, cognitive release. This is where we tackled the thoughts driving the anger. We learned to identify and challenge those angry thoughts, the shoulds, the musts, and the catastrophic thinking. Are these thoughts truly accurate, or are they just fueling the fire? Learning to reframe our thinking, to consider different perspectives, is like dousing the flames of an internal wildfire.
Ah, the mind as the culprit. It's so true how our thoughts can spiral. So, trigger identified, physical response acknowledged, and now we're retraining our thoughts.
Precisely. And this naturally led us to the power of pause, the art of de-escalation. This is a critical skill. When you feel that anger rising, the instinctive reaction is often to lash out. But the power of pause gives you that breath, that moment before you react. It's about creating space between the impulse and the action, allowing your more rational self to take the wheel.
That pause is so vital. It's that split second that can change everything about how a situation unfolds. It's the key to not saying or doing something you'll regret.
Indeed, from pausing, we moved to speaking your truth, assertive communication strategies. This is about expressing your needs and feelings clearly and respectfully without aggression. Assertiveness is the sweet spot between being passive and being aggressive. It's about saying, I feel, instead of you always. It's a foundational skill for healthy human interaction.
And that ties beautifully into navigating conflict, healthy debates, and disagreements. Once you can speak assertively, you can engage in conflict constructively. We learned that disagreements are inevitable, but they don't have to be destructive. It's about focusing on the issue, not attacking the person, and aiming for understanding, not just winning.
Remember how we emphasize that conflict is an opportunity to understand another person's perspective and to strengthen your own relationships. Building on that, anger and parenting, raising emotionally intelligent children showed us how to apply these principles when raising kids. It's about modeling healthy anger management, showing our children that it's okay to feel angry, but there are better ways to express it than outbursts.
That was such an important episode. It's not just about managing our own anger, but also about teaching the next generation. So, we've learned to manage our anger individually, communicate effectively, handle conflict, and even guide our children. What came after that, Alex?
We delve deeper into self-understanding with understanding your anger story, journaling for insight. Journaling is a powerful tool for reflection. By writing down your experiences and feelings, you can start to see patterns, uncover underlying beliefs, and gain a richer understanding of your personal anger narrative. It's like flipping through the pages of your own life to see how your anger has shaped you and how you can rewrite those chapters.
That was such a revelation for me. Seeing my anger not as a monolithic problem, but as a story with chapters one could learn from and revise.
Exactly. And with that deeper self-awareness, we moved to connecting with others, building healthier relationships. This is where all the communication and conflict resolution skills come into play. It's about using your anger toolkit to foster empathy, build trust, and create genuine connections, transforming potential friction points into opportunities for deeper understanding and intimacy.
It's amazing how managing your own internal state directly impacts your external relationships.
It truly is. And then we explored anger as a catalyst for change. This episode was about harnessing that powerful energy of anger. Instead of suppressing it or letting it control you, we learned to direct it towards positive action. Anger can signal injustice, imbalance, or unmet needs. And by understanding it, we can channel that energy into making meaningful changes in our lives and in the world around us.
That was so empowering. Seeing anger not as a negative force, but as a potent motivator for growth and improvement.
And finally, we focused on maintaining your momentum, long-term anger resilience. Building resilience means ensuring these tools become second nature. We talked about consistency, practice, and not getting discouraged by setbacks. It's about integrating the toolkit into your daily life. So it's there when you need it, becoming a natural part of who you are.
So, to recap this incredible series, we've learned to identify our triggers, manage our physical reactions, reframe our thoughts, master the art of the pause, communicate assertively, navigate conflict healthily, guide our children, understand our personal anger stories through journaling, build stronger relationships, use anger as a force for positive change, and finally, build the resilience to sustain all of this long term.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. This entire series has been about building your personal anger toolkit. You now have a comprehensive set of strategies and insights to not just manage anger, but to understand it, respect it, and transform its powerful energy into a force for positive growth and well-being. Remember, this is not about never feeling angry. It's about feeling angry, understanding why, and choosing how to respond in a way that serves you and those around you.
It's a journey, and we've hopefully given you the essential tools to keep walking that path with confidence. Each episode built upon the last, creating a solid foundation for lasting change.
And that brings us to the end of the Anger Toolkit. We've covered a lot of ground, and we hope you feel a profound sense of empowerment and transformation. Thank you for joining us on this journey.
Thank you for listening. We encourage you to keep practicing these skills, to revisit episodes that resonated with you, and to continue integrating your anger toolkit into your life.
It has been an honor to guide you. Keep transforming that anger into powerful energy. Thanks for listening to the series.